To Nick's Chicks family, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode. Today, I'm your girl, Lady, and the Chef, joined by my co-host today.
D-Block's 21, what's good?
Well, the Knicks are not what's good. The Knicks just came off of what is it? This weekend marked the Knicks' third back-to-back of this season. The Knicks lost both games. They played OKC on Friday, then played yesterday against Chicago. We'll go over both games, touch on basically what went wrong. Is it a matter of tired legs, exhaustion, lack of depth? We'll try to figure that out and why, the Knicks dropped both games. So yeah, the Knicks did play OKC on Friday night. That ended in a loss 117 to 107. The Knicks were outscored in that final quarter, 37 to 19, which is crazy because the Knicks actually led for a large portion of the game, and it just looked like they ran out of gas at the end of the game. And I know for me, because I really want to hear your takes on what did you see or notice that stood out for you in that OKC game. But for me, I noticed towards the end of the game, because it was really in the fourth quarter. I have to say, I was pretty impressed with the way the Knicks played OKC. I thought it was just a high level um, game and the way they played. I saw a lot of people said, oh, they felt like that game gave them like a playoff vibe type of game, which it did. But I just like the way the Knicks played that game overall. But for me, late in the fourth quarter, I think it boiled down to the lack of like effort plays down the stretch of the game, the weak perimeter defense, not being able to get defensive stops. Wiggins was clutch from the in the fourth from the 3-point line. The Knicks just, I don't know where was the defense on him. SGA again. I said this when we was on Thursday. He doesn't move the quickest, but somehow he's so smart with the way he's able to get to the basket. He was making a bunch of layups, and between him and Wiggins and Williams, they did whatever they wanted to do. And then the Knicks, no, they didn't have a ton of turnovers, but it was the turnovers, the timing of the turnovers in the fourth quarter. And it just got a little sloppy in the fourth quarter. And again, I don't know if that was the Knicks were tired. I don't know if, Tibbs rocking with those same five starters like he likes to do, but I don't know. I liked what I saw up until that fourth quarter. And it's a shame that the Knicks dropped that game, but just these woes that they've been having that we're seeing that still haven't been really addressed yet, especially again, it's the defense. That defense has to pick up. But for you, when you answer, I don't know if you felt like you wanted to see maybe Jalen step up and take control, or did you feel like it was a collective effort? Like, what were your thoughts on that game? I'm really curious to hear your thoughts on that OKC game.
Well, I'm gonna start off with like how you said it was kind of like a playoff intensity game because it was. There was like 10 lead changes and 8 ties. So, and they hung in for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
But me, like you said, the defense collapsed. It just, they were playing great. They led at halftime. They seemed to have OKC number. Um, and we spoke earlier. I'll go into more of that. Again, it was a culmination of things. They struggled from the 3-point line. Mikel and OG had it going on, and just the ball just stopped. So as far as me wanting Jalen to step up, no, I want Jalen to distribute the ball, to be a
Mm-hmm.
facilitator. I think in that second half, OG might have touched the ball 5 times,
Mm-hmm.
or either four, and Mikel 5 or 4. So it was one of them touched it 4, one of them touched it 5. So you even Cat, like he didn't touch the ball a lot. So taking over, no, I want him to play less of an ISO and 1-on-1 and be a facilitator and distribute that ball. That's what Jalen needs to do. I mean, because like we went through this early in the season about how you don't have to be the hero all the time. you know, trust in your teammates. And then he says, "Oh, I got to do better," but then he reverts back to his old habits. He
Right.
does it, once I guess it's brought up to him, and then you see a better version of him, and then he reverts back to the old habits. But just overall, like I said, they was in it, and it was fun to watch until they had to collapse, and then it's like, oh boy, here we go. Um,
Right.
but again, when the ball don't move, it's and when you compound, bad enough you lack depth, and your bench, and then but when you got the five guys that's trying to do it, and they are capable of doing it, but certain teams you got to be able to match that intensity, and the Knicks weren't able to do that in that, like in that fourth quarter, like again, like you said, I don't know if it was tired legs and so forth or whatever, because they came off a back to back. So they had just played the Clippers the day before.
Right.
So it just makes you wonder, well, they did a back to back, and but again, I don't want to see Jalen play hero ball. I want him to be a facilitator, and that's a recipe for a winning a team and a winning game. You know, and hopefully, they could correct that. They will be home for a few games, and these are the corrections that they could make.
Right. When I was watching that game, Mike Breen, I believe, was calling that game, and I heard him say how I don't want to botch his first name, but Lagence Dort.
Oh,
He
Luau Dan? No, yeah,
No, Dort,
Dort,
Dort, his
yeah,
last name.
Dort, yeah,
Yeah,
Dort.
he did play 33 minutes, but he was a nice spark for them. He only had 11 points, but I heard Mike Breen say how he liked the way he came off the bench, played good minutes for them. And it made me think about the Knicks, how the Knicks don't really have anyone necessarily who's coming off the bench and they're able to contribute and give the Knicks something off the bench. Now, I think partly that is because we've been saying we feel like Thibodeau is not really utilizing his bench. I
Yeah,
also think that, like I was saying this last year as well, where granted the Knicks did have their injuries that they had. So there really wasn't a bench because the bench had to eventually move up and play out of positioning. But I still kind of stand where what I said, where I don't feel like the Knicks truly have a full bench. Because if you look at who they have now from the bench, they're playing Campaign, who in that game played 8 minutes. Precious Achua played 8 minutes. Shamit played 14 minutes. And then you would have Deuce, who was out. But even if Deuce played in that game, I don't think that Deuce would have made a huge difference. I don't think that he
yeah,
would have been the difference maker in that game. I think he would have just, he probably would have been able to, yeah, sure, maybe give you 12, 14 points. But when I look at the Knicks bench, okay, Precious played 8 minutes, Cam played 8 minutes. First of all, I'm going to get on Campaign. I don't like his vibe the last two games. He just seems like he's a step or two too slow for me. Friday and yesterday.
yeah, yeah.
Dude, did you get enough sleep? Do you need hydration? I'm not sure what's going on with him. He just looks like he's a little too like behind the curve. And I'm not sure what that is, but I need him to like get out of whatever slump this is. Again, it hasn't been a long streak, but I saw on Twitter people was like, sit him down. And then it makes you wonder too, like, why wouldn't Tibbs go and play? Well, first of all, I know they couldn't play a lot of people because they were listed to be playing in the G League game. So my thing is like Huck Porty, Kolick, um, Ryan. It's almost like they're temps. They came from a temp agency, and Tibbs only has them in case you need that emergency body because someone went down and you need to play them in a game. They're like literal temps. And I'm not sure why Tibbs doesn't feel like, well, if you play these guys again to gather and accumulate experience in real live game situations instead of just practice, they don't get any burn, and I don't understand that. But Cameron Payne, I really need him to like figure out whatever this. I don't know what's going on. I don't even, I can't even put words to it. Like, just I don't like the body language. I don't like, and it doesn't give me vibes. I don't want to come off as if it's giving me vibes of I don't want to be here. That's not what I'm seeing. But what I'm seeing is like, I didn't get the stretch. I came in late. I didn't eat. My stomach is hurting. I don't know what it is, but he needs to figure it out because I don't like, to me, he was brought here for a reason as well. And it's not to go in a game and give us 8 to 10 minutes and you don't do a damn thing. You didn't get a rebound. You didn't get a steal. You didn't give us at least 8 to 10 points. Like, what are you doing out there?
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
You're a veteran, so you have the experience. I'm looking for you to give us a little bit of something and not a whole lot of nothing.
Yeah,
Precious Atua, go ahead. I'm sorry.
no, and quite frankly, you were brought here for that reason. You know, upon signing, I'm quite sure you was told you know what you came here for. You know it's not gonna be a ton of minutes. You're a backup, and this is your role, and you were like that at Philly. So you didn't start. So
Right.
you know
Exactly. Good
your
point.
role is you just transferring from team to team. So
Right.
I'm quite sure they didn't promise you no ton of minutes. So again, like and I hear what you're saying. Maybe it's just let's hope it's just two bad games, and maybe it was a stump. I don't know. I don't want to make excuses for the guy, but you're going to be needed whether you play 10, 5, and they're going to be in spurts too as well. Or sometimes you may get a succession of whatever is 8 minutes, but you got to play your role.
Yeah, exactly. Know your role and go out there and execute that. And same thing for Precious Achua. I feel like, I don't know. I mean, he could be kind of like off and on as far as like production wise, what you're gonna get out of him. I'm
Yeah,
not gonna really be too hard on him because it is what it is. I mean, I would like to see, I think with him, I want to see more energy. Like that's what I want to see more of when he's in the game, but it is what it is. And then Shaman, I'm not really sure because with him, I don't have an issue with energy with him. He's very upbeat, he's energized, he's ready defensively, he has active hands, active feet. But I don't know sometimes with him if it's a case of like, I feel like for me, when it comes to him, I think it's Tibbs not utilizing him well to
yeah,
hit the abilities of what he can give this team. Like when I watch Shamit, I'm like, Tibbs ain't utilizing him right. And remember, I've spoken about this when the Knicks acquire good, solid shooters. I never feel like Tibbs utilizes them well in different schemes when it comes to how he's running the plays and this, that, and third. Like, I just feel like Shamit is hustling out there. He's hustling. It's not him. But when I'm looking at the offense, I'm like, damn, he's just kind of camped out at that top angle of the 3 point line, or he's there. Maybe he's hustling to get a rebound and give us another opportunity. He's doing those things, but I'm like, I don't feel like Tibbs is utilizing him to the best of his capabilities. When I think of Shamit and what he should be doing for this team, he should be doing for this team what Leone Thiebish did for the Liberty.
yeah. He's a 6'4" shooting guard. I mean,
Knocking down shots, key baskets for you. He should be giving you at least 8 to 10 a game.
yeah, for sure.
I don't feel like he's being utilized well on his team
Yeah.
offensively. But it is what it is. Stats wise, the Knicks shot 47% field goal percentage. OKC was at 51. Knicks were 9 for 32 from the 3 point line at 28%. The Knicks were 70% from the free throw line. They were 12 for 17. They had 42 rebounds. OKC had 41. Knicks finished with 22 assists to OKC's 27. OKC has 7 blocks. Knicks only had 2. Knicks had 7 steals. OKC had 9. Turnovers, the Knicks only had 12, which isn't horrible. And the stat that really stands out the most for me, because I believe this is now the second, maybe third time so far this season that the Knicks have outscored a team in the paint, 64-54.
Yeah.
Um, but I just thought that, you know, Jalen Williams did whatever he wanted to. He finished with 20 points. Isaiah Hartenstein had 14 boards, 7 assists, 4 points.
Yeah, yeah. Those are decent numbers. I was expecting, quite frankly, more from iHeart. So I'm happy. He didn't. Have this for whatever this great game, because it was a okay game.
Yeah, it was an okay game from him. It wasn't his greatest performance. SGA finished with 33.7 points, four rebounds. Wiggins, man, he was on fire from beyond the arc, had 19 points, 5 rebounds. And then they had a couple of other guys who scored 8 points, 6 points, 4 points. When you look at the matchups in that game, I noticed on SGA, it seems like, and I don't know if this was because the Knicks were doing this in real time, just trying to pick up coverage, or was this part of the game plan from a coach's standpoint? There was different guys on SGA. It was Hart, Shamit at one point. I think they had um, OG was on Williams at one point. Did you like the matchups? Or and then I think I saw McCall on SGA at one point. But again, it doesn't matter who was trying to guard SGA. Nobody could guard him at all. He was getting past and doing whatever the hell he wanted to do in the paint. Carl Anthony was trying to get some like blocks in the paint. I thought he did a good job not getting himself in foul trouble, which was one of our keys to the game for him not to do. But let's talk about the matchups. Did you like the matchups the way the Knicks were playing? Because I also felt like, and I want to really hear your thoughts on this. I didn't feel like the Knicks took advantage with Cat taking it against Hartenstein.
Yeah.
I thought that I don't know. I felt like I didn't want to see a whole bunch of threes, but I thought he should have used that inside outside game to his
Mhm.
advantage. More of that pick and roll I would have liked to see to the Knicks'
Yeah.
advantage as well. And I just didn't like what I saw from that as well. What are your thoughts on like the matchups and defensively and offensively?
Well, the matchups, I think in Tibbs, well, I think what Tibbs was doing, what opponents tend to do with Jalen, they throw different bodies at him and have him see, different coverage. So I think he was trying to reverse that, and okay, let's do on SGA.
Hmm.
Because you know what he's capable of. He's not in the MVP running. His name is not in the conversation. It's in the conversation for a
For a
reason.
reason.
So I think Tiz was trying to reverse that, and okay, let's throw different bodies at him. Um, and certain, like the saying goes, you can have great, defense but better offense, and he's proven that. So I mean, I like that, because you want to see what works. You want to see what matchup works. Yeah, you see it on paper, and you know what OG can do, what Mikal, but to put it into action, and let's see if it works, and who can have the better, defensive coverage on him. um he scored 33. Wasn't a ton of points, but it was, but so I guess to a certain degree, it kind of worked. Like I said, again, the Knicks just the defense just collapsed on them. So I guess in a way it did work. And as far as like Cat with iHeart, yeah, I definitely would have loved to see that, because like I said, iHeart didn't have this great explosive offensive game. Yeah, he had the 14 rebounds, but offensively he wasn't, well, he had 4 points. So I think that matchup could have been exploited a little bit more on Cat's behalf. But again, when your big guy only touches the ball, when he's limited to three, his 3 point shooting was limited. So, things like that, hopefully they can correct, for their next time they run up against each other, which will be this coming Friday. But I definitely would have loved to see that. But these are the mistakes and errors that they can correct.
Yeah, I agree. I don't know. When you look at the Knicks stats, Josh Hart played 44 minutes. He finished with 19.7 rebounds. OG played 43 minutes, finished with 20 points. Karl Anthony Towns played 42 minutes, finished with another double double. He had 22 rebounds, 17 points. Mikal played 41 minutes, finished with 24 points. Brunson played 40 minutes, finished with 22 points, 9 assists. And then you have Precious and Cam both with 8 minutes, Shamit with 14 minutes. Um, so yeah, I think when you look at Karl Anthony with only 17 points, which is not a huge deal, but I think it goes back to what we were just saying. I think he should have been attacking more against Isaiah Hartenstein and taking it to him. Um, and then I didn't even mention that there was even some times where Brunson was on SGA. So that was too easy for SGA. He was just like, yo, this is easy. Like Brunson, I thought he did a good job attacking throughout the first 3 quarters. He made a lot of tough baskets. He was facilitating the ball well. But I think that it goes back to what we were saying at the top of the season. He has to learn to find that balance of being able to facilitate the ball and set guys up.
For a full 48 minutes.
Yeah, it can't just be for 1 or 2 quarters or 1 quarter. Um, and just finding guys in the right spots and making sure they get the ball to them so they can score. I really, like I said, I really, when I rewatched that game, I rewatched it again before we went live. Like I said, it's the Knicks were up in that game, but
Yeah.
that third quarter, really, it was really that third quarter that the Knicks just lost it. Got outscored, 37-19. You can't come out of halftime and have a horrible third quarter. That just can't happen.
And you know what? And speaking of, remember last season, what was the Achilles heel amongst one of many? They always had that third quarter
Quarter,
collapse.
yeah.
And I'm saying to myself, I said, man, I hope we're not going back down that road, because that used to be their
Achilles heel.
yeah.
Hmm.
And I can say always because they majority of the time they had those third quarter collapse. I'm just hoping that they're not reverting back to them old, habits, if you will, like just, not coming out, and letting the team and but it's they have just said some of those games that they won, but
Right.
again, of those are because they were mediocre teams, where they were able to withstand like those teams that had those third quarter runs, and those runs in the third quarters. But this one and the reason why because OKC, like these guys, they are some runners, like
Yeah.
young, they're athletic, they get up like it's an awe like when you watch them and you wonder why they're number one in standards. They may be young, but it just shows in every facet, like what how do you exploit them, you know? And until you figure that out, that's when you want to start beating these guys. You got to find their weakness, and to me, right now they don't have any. There are some, and they did lose 5, but it's not a lot of games they've lost.
And I think also looking at this weekend, because you know what it is too with the Knicks? The Knicks have done this already, where they've won 8, 9 games in a row. And I think now you look after this weekend and you say, well, one, the Knicks, I'm looking for them to be consistent in many areas, but also not allowing yourself to lose a third game in a row, because that can't happen. You have to bounce back and figure it out. But I think just watching this weekend, and I think you'll agree with me, this shows that the Knicks, and again, I'm not pushing the panic button, but they're not ready. They're not there yet. They're not there yet. And I say that because just hearing what you just said makes me think of like what I've been saying, and that the Knicks have to figure out how to beat those better teams in the league that are your challenging teams. Those are your challenging opponents that you're going to face. Now they're going to have a rematch on Friday against OKC, but you got to figure out a way to beat teams like OKC, Cleveland. People are saying, "Oh, you've even said it. The Knicks have Cleveland's number." Listen, the way Cleveland is playing, and again, I don't care anything about just the regular season. Yeah, do I want the Knicks to have a better regular season than they had last year? Yes. The playoffs is a different animal. Some teams fold, they don't make it all the way, whatever. When we get there, we'll get further into that. But to me, you have to figure out a way in a regular season how to beat those teams that are like not even just the challenging, because not for nothing, but didn't we lose to Chicago prior when the
Yeah.
last time we played them? So this is what I'm saying. You have to figure out how to beat these teams. Chicago's not a good team. They're not a horrible team, but they're not better than you. But
Exactly.
yet they figured out how to beat you twice already. And the reason why I'm saying what I'm saying is because during a regular season, you can't, if you're a series matchup and you meet up and play a team maybe 4 times throughout the regular season and you only beat them once, it's concerning. We had this issue last year with Boston. We don't want to carry that over this year. You don't want to have you had issues last year against Orlando, Dallas, Boston, just certain teams in the league. We couldn't figure out how to beat them at least 3 times without them coming and they beating you in the garden, and then they beating you when you go to their home. So you at the Knicks have to figure out how to beat these teams, whether they're better than you. I'm not just talking about the record. I'm talking about they're a solid, good team, or teams that are just they're good, but they haven't had figured out how to win consistently enough that they're in the better standings, whether they're on the East or Western Conference. So I think the Knicks have to really figure out how do you beat these teams on a consistent basis, but teams that are like, I guess we can get into it because this is leading into the Knicks playing Chicago. Knicks played Chicago yesterday. They lost 139-126. That 139 points that Chicago scored is the most a Knicks opponent has scored this season. First of all, 139 points is way too many. That means you didn't play any defense. Josh Hart said to Stephen Bondy, tired legs with a question mark. We're not even halfway through the season yet, so legs can't be too tired. He said, we didn't execute. We didn't play as good as we should have. We didn't deserve to win on Saturday. Knicks got within 6 points with about 6 minutes and some change left in that fourth quarter. Ball knees look fine. Kobe ran the show. And Zach looked like he got some kind of magical shot in his body that gave him some type of rejuvenation. Injury who? Injury where? He was playing. I was like, what's going on in Chicago? Was it because it was Derrick Rose night?
Yeah.
So they said, well, we're gonna win this. Derrick Rose, we gonna get this win. And I'm looking, and the Knicks really looked tired against Chicago, if you ask me. The energy, everybody just looked off. Cat was scaring me every couple of plays. Looked like he twisted something. He was going up, getting fouled. Neck almost came off his shoulders. I was like, what's going on out there? Not to mention, we didn't even talk about, we almost had a horrible scare with OG against OKC.
Yeah.
Looked like somebody dropped them from the top row or the roof and just dropped them on the floor. I said, after watching a few times, I said, how did he fall like that? So we're lucky that we got out of the clear with OG Anunoby, and he didn't get majorly hurt on his elbow too at that.
Mm-hmm.
But Chicago, I just thought that game, it showed that the Knicks came off of a back-to-back. And it was a back and forth game for the most part. But then, just like OKC, I was watching a game. I said, this is giving me a back-to-back game trauma, because the Knicks kind of like, they lost, they collapsed in the fourth quarter. What were your thoughts on that game against yesterday's game against Chicago?
Well, when you have that Friday's loss and you turn around, you have that Saturday's loss. I'm like, man, the Knicks have really been exposed
Right.
because, and I say that because teams know we don't have a bench, and so they know, and it's no big secret. Opponents and the opposing team, Tibbs play these guys X amount of minutes, and although like they're not up in the high echelon, they are there. Like I think Jalen's like seventh on the list of minutes played, so he's not at the top. But the fact that they know there's no bench where they can rely on, so and they figure, well, this it's like they lie in wait. They're gonna run out. The defense is gonna collapse, and it did. They saw it in OKC and they said, well, and it's gonna happen here.
Right.
Just got this turn on the Jets, and then now the Knicks is their backs is up against the wall. So I think that and until Tibbs open up expand that rotation, trusting these guys that listen here, I believe in you. I
Right.
mean, because to me, when you don't play the guys, I think that says a lot about your coaching style. Like you don't believe in them.
Right.
I mean, others, you could just disagree. That's just my opinion. But when you don't, play them, it's like, well, I don't trust in you for you to win the game or even help us win the game, because if you did, then you would play them. So I these two games, they just it just really exposed the Knicks for a lack of what they can do. And you know yeah, they may be number two in the offensive rating, but defensively, where do they lie at? So again, like that just showed me a lot about them. And I'm like, and I sat with him. I was like, well, how do they expect to get to the Eastern Conference Final with this roster? And like we were talking earlier, if they don't make changes, I'm just resigned to the fact that this is where we're gonna go, or this is as far as we're gonna go, because it's impossible to do it with this roster and with the minutes that you're playing them. So again, I mean, that's just my take on one of the things. Again, Chicago's another young team. They came out the more aggressive team,
Yeah, they
and they
did.
came ready to play. Yeah, they were on a 3 day rest, but again, that shouldn't, if you play defense, you could stop, you could have got that W. But Chicago was just another game that these guys, they're young and they couldn't guard the perimeter. Like Kobe, he's up there shooting. He had a three party. Like he had
Literally.
more threes than the Knicks had collectively as a team. So that right there, that's unacceptable. Um, but again, these are the things that they will, definitely have to, explore and dive deep into, and like figure it out. What can we do, to get over the hump and to play defense 48 minutes, and not have these collapse where these guys again, they went on that run, and then they all things fell apart.
But I was thinking, and shout out to Jay Boogie. He was on our last episode on that we was on live. And he was saying that he feels like the Knicks need another solid piece to add who can be a walking bucket, who could contribute off the bench, right? And I really was thinking about that. And I didn't want to talk about it when he was on the phone because I wanted to save it for our live this evening. But what I'm thinking is if the Knicks do acquire another guy, he's a solid player. He can give you, 10, anywhere between 10 and 20 points in a game, 10, 14, 16 points a night. Is Tibbs going to play that guy?
That's what you may say. Why is he gonna? That's an excellent.
Because, or are you just gonna play that guy and add him in with the starters, or with the starting group, and he'll just come in maybe for Mikel, or he'll come in for OG, and then you may add in Deuce, or you add in Cam to play the point. But I think you bring up a really good point. As a head coach, you're the leader. When you're a good coach, it don't matter who you bring in that game. This is my show. This is what I want done schematically. This is what I want done on the offensive end and defensive end. If you can't do it, then you're going to sit down on the bench and I'm not going to play you. But if you're coming out there, and it's okay if you make mistakes here and there, it's going to happen, especially when you're a rookie. You're transitioning from playing overseas or playing in college to come into the big leagues of the NBA. But if you're sitting down like a towel boy, you'll never learn. And you're just being used like this is a temp agency and we're just using you as a body for when we have practice to help us out in practice. How am I supposed to know what you're going to do if I don't get any burn? But really, I'm only going to get playing time if we're up by 25. And hell, lately, Tibbs has even been playing those guys.
Yeah.
They get lucky if they get a minute and a half because he felt like, okay, I'm going to put them in. For what?
Yeah. And I never forget, in the beginning of the season, I never forget Steph. She was like, Tibbs is not going to play these rookies. And, and which is true. If he don't play the bench, how is he going to play the rookies?
Right.
And these are guys that have the experience. But like you said, that's a good point. That's an excellent point. Why bring in a guy if you're not going to play him? You have bench players. And, people, they even said about Deuce, like, Deuce is not the savior. Mitch is not the savior.
Exactly.
It's like, Mitch is going to be limited. So we're not going to see probably the real Mitch and see what he's capable of. Probably he got to get his feet wet. I think he just started, running or something like that?
Practicing, yeah,
Yes.
barely practicing, yeah.
Mitch is, so I was speaking to somebody. I said, Mitch may try to come back after the trade deadline.
Right.
He
Because
played
his
that.
name's been circulating out there in these articles that teams are interested in acquiring him. So who knows? I mean, I know he's still rehabbing, but I don't think Knicks fans realize that, and not all Knicks fans, but I don't think that some people don't realize that even if Mitch comes back and once he gets into his groove and he finds his footing and his minutes are upped, more, the Knicks are still going to have their same issues.
Yep.
They don't guard the perimeter. They don't box out. That was another thing I saw in these past two games this weekend. Watching.
Yeah.
A movie? Put a body on somebody and grab the rebound. What are you watching for? And then, like, the predictable passes, too.
Oh, man.
I thought we got rid of that when we got rid of Randall. Apparently, it's still contagious.
Yeah, it just seemed like old habits are creeping back in.
Yeah, and they need to be nipped in the bud quick. But this is what I'm saying with Tibbs. When you're a head coach of a team, a lot of times, you and I always talk about coaches like Missoula and how when you're driving the train and you have it going in the right direction, the players are going to take heed and follow under your direction. And then the formula works, it becomes contagious, it's now infectious amongst the entire organization, and we're moving in that direction of championship, of being better every day, of correcting our mistakes, you know what I mean, limiting old habits of what we used to do. And I haven't really seen that shift necessarily with the Knicks. There's still a good handful of like areas that the Knicks haven't addressed yet.
Yeah.
While they've come a long way, I'm not taking that away from them, but I haven't seen like these major changes yet where like our defense is still a problem. And I think for me, the way the front office is looking at play, not so much players, but looking at this team. And, one of my things that I brought up in our last live was that I don't want the front office to keep having to figure out a trade and getting rid of this person or bringing this person because they're trying to find the right pieces, which I get you have to do that to a certain extent. But I think it's also important that you keep who you have so the roster can build and grow together. And this way, when we start at the top of the season, we don't have guys saying, I'm not sure what I'm doing out there because it's a couple of changes and I'm trying to make sure I fit in and et cetera, et cetera. So I don't know. I just feel like for me, I'm looking at Tibbs this season with binoculars, magnifying glass. If Tibbs don't start making changes, utilizing the bench, utilizing who you have to be able to get you what you need and give you a spark. I'm not even necessarily just talking about guys playing 40 minutes. I'm not even talking about that. This is a professional league. You should be able to play however many minutes, whatever.
Yeah.
But if Tibbs doesn't make changes and starts to utilize not just the rookies but your bench, and I get that we don't have enough depth on the bench, but you have enough that you can give guys some minutes and utilize them to their abilities, like Shamit. Not
Yeah.
to me, you're not utilizing. If Tibbs doesn't make changes with the adjustments, like in OKC, I wasn't really fond of the defensive and the offensive matchups. If he doesn't make changes with the schemes and different things like that, I have an issue. I'm gonna switch my the way I feel about Tibbs in the off season, and I'm gonna be like, we gotta address this. You shouldn't have extended him because I'm not seeing change. Tibbs is stuck in his old ways.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's like you're not gonna get far if you think heavy load management on your same five guys and you bring in maybe three other guys to play anywhere between 8 and 12 minutes is gonna cut it.
Yes.
And it's not even just that. It's not even just the rotations, the adjustments, the rather, but it's more so it's the lack of defense, and then it's what you have them doing when they're out there. Like I don't know. And then like how we touched on a couple of minutes ago, like with Brunson, and Brunson will find that, but I want to see Brunson, like you said, he has to find a better balance of I can take control when I need to, and I could also set guys up on his team. Because I thought like in the Chicago game, or was it the OKC game? I feel like it was both, a little bit of both. Like early in both of those games, Brunson did a really good job with simple bounce passes. I even like the way Bridges was like, making sure he got the pass into Carl. Like instead of settling for jump shots, instead of settling for threes, like get the ball inside, hit the cutters. I thought the Knicks did a really good job doing that. I thought Brunson did a good job doing that. But it's like you said, it's not consistent enough throughout the game. It's for like a quarter or two, and then it's like, then one quarter he feels like I gotta go off and go to work.
Especially when they fall behind, and I think that's when he feels like the mentality shifts. Like, oh, I gotta be the play the hill. No, just run your offense, be the facilitator, and you you'll see a difference. But somehow he gets into this mindset, like when they lose the lead or fall behind, and he feel he has to like, oh, be the hero. You don't have to. You have trust in your teammates.
Right. Yeah. Shout out to the chat. You guys are the comments tonight are like really, really good. But we're not trying to go over an hour today. But shout out to PBJ. I like that handle. He said this ain't good because ATL is no sleeper. Indiana is figuring it out. Philly is getting better too. Tibbs is supposed to be known for defense and it's lacking this year. Yeah, Tibbs, I don't know where that came from. Where was that switch that all of a sudden under Tibbs, we're not good defensively. The
Well,
Knicks always had an issue defensively as a team, as an organization for a long time. But I feel like under Tibbs, we're just not. It's not reflective of the kind of coach that he's known to be defensively. It doesn't show when you watch to the eye test. It doesn't show in the stats either. And I think that I don't think that, and shout out to hit him up NYNJ. I agree with this comment. He said, I don't think the Knicks can win with Tibbs as our head coach. It's either now or never.
yeah,
And I've been saying this, Tibbs is not known. He hasn't won a championship in the NBA. Tibbs is known to almost like when certain companies have that person who's like um a leadership trainer who goes around to different franchise locations and they take locations that's just awful and they change it around. I think we need somebody who's going to come in and do almost like what you saw Leon do. Leon's holding up his end of the bargain. Leon and the gang, right? They're giving you what you need. They're still making that happen. It's a work in progress, bringing in trades, making the right pieces fit. But that's all well and good. But if Tibbs is not going to utilize those certain pieces, then what good is it that we're tweaking and making these different tweaks to the lineup and the roster and getting this guy and that guy? But if we're still, it's like insanity. We're doing the same things. We're making some progress, but it's not enough that I think what I'm boiling down and trying to say is that I don't want the Knicks to fall into the category and be a team like the Atlanta Hawks, a team that that they make the playoffs, but they're not
yeah.
going to go anywhere. I don't
Well,
want them to fall into that category or become that team that it took us a long time to be a consistent playoff known team. And now that we're making it there, I don't want the Knicks to be a team that it's like, yeah, they're gonna make the playoffs, but you know how you be watching the playoffs and it's certain teams and you like they not gonna go that far. Like I know they may get this to the second round and that's it. And I don't want the Knicks to become that team. Like they have to. And then I think part of it is okay, Leon in the front office does with their part and do whatever they do, whether they keep Mitch, they trade him, they bring in another piece, they get more pieces for the bench. But it starts from the coach. Sure, the coach is not out there playing, but if the coach is not saying, this is what I need executed, this is what I need from you, this is what I want, and not saying he's not saying that, but it's just not correlating to me on an eye test. I'm hearing Tibbs, I hear him from the sidelines. I see him calling the timeouts, which to me, sometimes his timeouts are a little too late in the game. I wish they were a little sooner. I just don't feel like as a head coach, you have
yeah,
to demand and command what you need and be very stern about the changes that you need. You know what I mean? Done on this team. Like it has to be a way that you figure out how do you make this team better? And not just better, but the growth along with that. Like Tibbs is just known to make teams, he makes them better. Tibbs takes teams that's from down here at the bottom, that's in 12th, 11th, 10th, 8th seeded teams, and he brings them into that top four, maybe top five in their prospective conference, but he hasn't won a championship. So is this sustainable as well? Keeping Tibbs along with this team.
yeah. And you know what? Speaking of that, I said last week on our last episode, I said, you know, I said it was only because they were winning, but when you factor in who they won against,
Exactly.
that's sustainable. But when you got guys that are, or teams that are over 600, not even we're not 600 in the sevens,
Right.
that's not sustainable. And the Knicks, they can't match these teams. And as long as Tibbs is the coach, I don't see the Knicks going as far as the second round. And if he don't open up that rotation and expand that rotation, again, they're just going to be known as a second round exit team. Because because they're depth, and and like I said, teams are figuring the Knicks out. They know that defensively they lack in defense intensity, and
Yeah,
they exploit the Knicks, and that's what's happening the last two games. And if OKC and Chicago, which like you said, Chicago's a good team, but they're not a great team. So if
right.
they can figure it out, other teams, are going to do the same thing. You just look at that's why you got coaches that look at film, they break down film, and they're going to see this is where, you know, you can exploit them. And we all know the game is about runs. If a team could go, and they've done it, they go on these mini runs. Now the Knicks are peddling back. They have to go on an offense and catch up, and they're not able to do it. And with Tibbs, I don't see the Knicks going past the second round
Yeah, I agree.
and
I
that
want,
same rotation anyway as well.
yeah, I agree 100%. I wanted to address, shout out to a Negro one, shout out to you. He said our bench is depleted with Deuce out. There was plenty to feel good about against OKC when we were right, we dominated. We aren't playing our best ball. No. But see, that's the thing. And this is the problem that I'm having right now with the Knicks. It seems like whenever we have a player out, we feel like our bench is depleted. When we had Precious out, we was saying that. We was like, okay, when he comes back, and I said that's not going to be the end all be all. We say that about Mitch. We've been saying that about Deuce. Like, even if Deuce was here, I don't think it would have made a huge difference. And Deuce has been playing well this season, but he's just one part of the piece. And not only that, Tibbs hasn't even been playing Deuce that many minutes, it seems like, as of late. You know what I mean? I think Deuce's game looks even better this season. Like, he truly worked on his shot. I like the confidence that I'm seeing. But it wasn't the Knicks' best basketball. And it happens. I'm not being down on the Knicks for losing to OKC or losing to Chicago. I mean, Chicago a little bit more because you lost to them twice now. And this is a team that hasn't really figured it out yet. But from what I saw, Levine looked like I said, like he got some booster shot. Up and down, running up the court, dunking the basketball, crossing guys over, doing shake and bakes, and just Kobe out there shooting, having a 3-point party. But yeah, and shout out to Sterling Smith. He said they are not ready. And I do agree, a Negro one. They're not ready yet, but the Knicks are not ready yet. They're not. They still have a lot of work to do to figure it out. Shout out to Paris Jugger. He said Boston, new young coach. Cleveland, new younger coach. OKC, younger coach.
Yeah.
Very true. And this is something that Diva Locks has been saying for a while now. I know, especially with Cleveland, and we've been saying, I know the both of us has been saying this with both Cleveland and Boston's coaches.
Same thing with Houston. Look at what that coach
Yeah,
has done. Biggest step. Look what he's done with Detroit. So these guys, they're young, and Tibbs, like I said, he's so regimented, and he's just so like old school for the most part. And so
right,
it makes you wonder like how far they're gonna go with him.
right. Yeah. Hit him up, NY. And Jay said Tyler Kolek and Pacome have fresh young legs to go at Chicago. Yeah. But
Yeah.
I'm telling you, it's like Tibbs uses them like temps. Magic have a young coach too. No, yeah, isn't there Coach Young, that guy? I don't know his name, but
Mosley.
yeah, but he's pretty good. I like what he's doing with them. They're a growing squad as well. They're getting better each season. Paris Jugger said, but lady, what else can their stars do better? Their shot. I think they can play better defense. They
Yeah.
can utilize pick and rolls better. I want to see more cutting. I feel like it's becoming infectious, but you see like the same two guys doing it. But I'm starting to see more players doing it. Like really, Bridges does it really well. OG, you see him cut into the basket. I want to see. I've seen Shamit doing it. I want to see Payne doing it, and who else? Deuce cutting to the basket more, and Josh Hart as well, who I see cutting to the basket a lot more now as well, which is good to see. Brunson has been playing these crazy hard hat minutes since he got on the team. He gonna burn out at some point. Yeah.
And that's what you fear, the burnout,
Yeah.
or God forbid an injury. But
Anira once said OG freak fall was what stopped our momentum, and then Brunson went ISO instead of moving the ball off the double. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, for sure. That was definitely like a hold your breath moment when OG fell. I was like, they can't afford to have OG hurt. You can't, but shout out to Rondu 1973 said, all the starters playing over 40 minutes a game got to stop if you don't. The same thing is going to happen in the playoffs this year. Yeah. And that's what I've been saying with the Knicks. Like, this is all well and good, but that's why I keep asking, how long is this sustainable? The Knicks will get into the playoffs. They'll get to the first round, get past this first round. The second is going to be, a battle. And even if the Knicks do get past the second round, I just feel like they're going to be so gassed. They're just not going to have enough in the tank to get out of there. This is the league. Any team can beat you when they get hot. Absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah.
Thunder beat Boston today, and Boston was leading at halftime. Thunder came back and stole that game. So I mean, although they were at home, but still they were
The bench.
down. Two young teams, as well. OKC young anyway,
Yeah, exactly. Randu said the bench has to get better, can't make no trades. One option is going to bring TJ Warren off the G League is not much, but it will help. Yeah, I still do think that the Knicks are missing like a piece or two for sure. And I also think from that center position, you need whether it's Mitchell Robinson or someone else. And I don't also want the Knicks to just bring anyone to the team because, first of all, bringing anyone here doesn't matter anyway. Tibbs is not going to just play him. He
Yeah,
goes off of a trust and relationship based system. But
yeah.
I do think that, you know, even if the Knicks do bring a TJ Warren type of player here, is Tibbs going to play that guy? You watch a lot of other teams in the league, and, these guys come off the bench and they get minutes. And I don't know what that is. Like, if the Knicks don't hold on and they somehow get rid of Kolek, he's going to get minutes on other teams. He's good. He's a rising star. Exactly. The bench can't get better if they don't play. It can't. Yeah, look at what the Heat does, getting nobodies to the finals and decent contracts on other teams. That's what the Knicks need as a coach. Yeah. Well, the Heat, they got their own little woes right now. They're looking like the Seattle Storm. A little drama going on over there. Yeah, nobody boxes out on the Knicks. Don't see a lot of that. You can't play 40 minutes and be good on defense. I think you should be able to still be able to play defense no matter how many minutes you're playing. Like the effort has to be there. When I was watching a Chicago game, it was several plays that I watched and I'm like, damn, it's all four Knicks players in the paint. And you see Chicago guys just lined up on the perimeter. And then someone finally was running out from the Knicks to go and guard them. And I'm like, this is our problem.
Well, Kobe White, look at what he did. He manhandled them from behind the arc solo.
Yeah. You can't play good defense against great 3-point teams. Tibbs still thinks teams will miss most 3-pointers. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's part of his philosophy. Someone said that too a few episodes ago, that they feel like that Tibbs kind of would rather teams take the three and wants guys on the Knicks to go after the box out. I'm not sure what the logic is behind that, but yeah, it's kind of weird how that Tibbs plays like that. Um, I don't know. I just think that, and I've said this already like twice, that Tibbs is becoming predictable. I
Yeah,
think
yeah,
that this team needs a fresh new look, a more modern, younger coach who's gonna command
yeah,
better defense on this team, because the offense is not an issue, but it's also the way we execute the offense that can be tweaked and be better on this team. So I want to see, I don't know, I think the Knicks have to figure this out, because you're not going to get over that next hump. Like Tibbs has brought the Knicks to a certain place. We need another coach who's going to come here and bring us to that next level.
yeah,
And that's what we're missing. Minus the few pieces that you need on the roster, you do need a younger, modern coach who's going to have this team figure out the formula like Cleveland and Boston and OKC has, and bring them to the next level. So that's what this team needs. And, Wonder Woman Salute said at some point Leon needs to have a combo with Tibbs
yeah,
about what is happening and what needs to change.
yeah. I said the same thing. I wondered, like, if we as fans see it, like,
Right,
what are the other coaches are saying and thinking, and even Leon Rose, like you said, Leon said, I brought you the pieces, like I'm bringing you the players. So, but you as a coach, you have to bring them to that next level, to over that threshold. So
right.
it's like, what more can he do? I said, I wondered at the same thing.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true. That's a good point. And I was saying, I kind of touched on that a little bit. Like, I don't know. I was touching on it from the assistant coach standpoint. Some people have brought up some of the assistant coaches. I don't know if it's that Tibbs or maybe some people feel like they don't want to step on Tibbs' toes. Like, it's his show, let him run it, and we're gonna let him do his, almost like how Tibbs did with Sims, Jericho Sims, and certain players. He's giving you the floor. I don't know if they're just like, well, let him do his thing and let him figure it out. I don't know. Nick, yes, Salute said, I'm not panicking because I believe in Mitch. We shot 50% against its defense and Mitch is coming. But see, that's the problem. This is what we touched on just a couple of minutes ago. Some Knicks fans, we put too much of our belief and eggs into certain players. We think that by having Mitch come back, it's going to solve a good percentage of our issues. Will Mitch make a change for us in second, third chance opportunities in defense? Yes. But the Knicks are still going to have their issues that they've been having. We still have a huge defense problem.
Yeah.
Mitch is only one player.
And what type of impact is he going to make when he gets back? Yeah, he's going to.
Immediately, right. He can't make an immediate impact. And Mitch is so fragile. He's like glass. He needs bubble wrap. He needs all kinds of wrapping so that he doesn't break anything else when he gets back. Dunroll Skalman, salute to you, said Tibbs should play Hukporty until Mitch comes back. We've been saying that, and I just don't see that happening. I don't see that happening. Sterling Smith said Kobe White has had a career against the Knicks. Yeah, for some reason the Knicks can't guard him. The Knicks can't guard him at all. But the Knicks, we'll see what happens. I'm looking to see for them to rebound. They do play tomorrow against Orlando at 7:30. Then they play again on Wednesday against Toronto. They have a rematch against OKC on Friday, and then they play next Sunday against Milwaukee. So what they got? One, two, that's 4 games that they're playing.
Yeah.
What are your predictions? They got Orlando tomorrow, Toronto Wednesday, OKC on Friday, and Milwaukee on Sunday.
Well, I'm definitely looking for a revenge game with OKC, but that Monday Wednesday game is winnable. Um, Even OKC, they saw what OKC did in on last Friday's game. Don't have that defensive collapse. Not even with them, just even with Orlando and Toronto. But for me, I'm not the optimist. Um, and I'm gonna go 4-0. I'm still banking on my Knicks. I have faith in them.
Nick Yak must be in cahoots with Ebony and is part of the Mitch fan club. He isn't fragile. He had two injuries that were serious. Wasn't injured first 2 years, and in the 72 season, missed 15 games 3 years. But there's a repeated pattern with Mitch. He's injury prone. So we either have Mitch at the beginning of the season, he looks great. And not to mention, prior to last season, Mitch was out of shape. Let's call a spade a spade. He was grabbing them shorts, huffing and puffing. Just didn't look like he was in full game ready shape. So you either have Mitch in the beginning of the season, boom shakalaka, something happens. Or you have him at some point midway late in the season, and then boom shakalaka, something happens again.
I've looked at Mitch's stats. When he came, he played his first year 66 games, 61 games. Year 2, year 3, 31 games. Year 4, 72 games. And then he played 59 games. And then last season, he played 31. The most he's ever given us was 72 games.
And that was what season?
21-22.
Salute AP. Mitch is a part-time player. Exactly.
Yeah. He's a regular.
Right. Right. Nick Yak said he won Philly series last time. He did.
Oh,
There's
yeah.
no disputing that. We've said that on this show several times. He was the difference maker in last year's first round against Philly. If it wasn't for Mitch and Embiid, of course, playing dirty, injuring him, but he did a fantastic job guarding Embiid and stopping him. Embiid had to think twice about whatever moves he was going to make. Him and OG, I thought, did a really good job guarding him.
And but defensively, a lot of players do have second thought when Mitch is in. So you're not taking anything away from him, because even prior to his injury, what he was able to do on both ends, offensively and defensively, giving you those second chance points. So you're not taking anything from him. It's just that he's limited in what he's, I guess in what he's able to contribute because of his injuries. So that's the issue with Mitch. And even when he comes back, what type of impact will he make? And it's not going to be something, where he's going to get on his floor and, he's going to, be able to do what he was able to do. That's it. We're not questioning the hustle and, the grit. What he's able to do is just his injury, I guess
they stop him from progressing forward. Yeah, because he did a good job when we played Cleveland the year prior to that.
Yeah.
Like they had no answer for him, but it's unfortunate that he's one of those players that he's dealt an injury hand, AP said McBride has been missing a lot of time too. I'm not sure what's going on with Deuce, because I know at one point he had some kind of like flu, COVID-like symptoms that had him out. This time it's the hamstring.
No, but then he was out prior before that. Remember, he was out like 4 games.
I was going to ask about that. Right. Yeah. So I'm not sure what's going on with Deuce this season and why he's missing the time that he's missing. I'm not sure what's going on there. I'm wishing him speedy comeback, and that he picks it up, and because he's needed, but I don't know. Um, I think the same way the Knicks were able to figure it out without Randall last season, they're doing that this year without Mitch. They're figuring it out, you know.
Yeah.
Do I want to see them go without and have lack on their roster? No. And they'll figure that out as well too, and they'll get the right pieces in place. But yeah, I have the Knicks for my predictions for this week. I'm gonna go 3-1. I'm not sure who that one loss comes against because honestly, minus the Raptors, it could be either Orlando, OKC, or Milwaukee. And then the crazy thing is the Knicks play Milwaukee next Sunday, but then they play again on Monday against Detroit, who we haven't have had issues against them this season as well.
Yeah, great success. Yeah, with Detroit. Yeah.
So a Negro once said, so why are we killing Mitch for being a victim of a dirty play? We're not killing Mitch. We're pointing out the facts. Like we're gonna keep it real here and call a spade a spade. Mitch is injury prone. When he's healthy and he's on the floor, he's good.
Yeah, I
He
just
can't give you he can't give you what iHeart or Cat does, but he does a lot of good when he's on the floor. We're not arguing that Embiid did him dirty and um injured him. But even before that happened, Mitch had got hurt. And seasons prior to that, to last year, Mitch had got hurt. It's a repeated pattern, is what we're pointing out. We're not killing him for being a victim of a dirty play. We're basically just calling out the facts here. Mitch is an injury prone NBA player, and it's something that unfortunately he's dealt with in his career. And it's unfortunate whether he was on a Knicks or another team, this is the hand that he's been dealt, unfortunately. He's very fragile, his body. One little turn and he cracks something. This is snap. That's cracked. This needs to be put back. Foot needs to reattach back to the ankle. It's always something. And you need him on the floor, but when you can't have him for you, how many games are you going to get him for? You should be able to have Mitchell Robinson for at least 65 regular season games.
yeah.
At least 60, 65 games. When you can't even get that out of him on a consistent basis every year, then that's a problem.
Yeah.
And it's a business at the end of the day. If you were Dolan and you Rose, you paying a player money. I need you on the floor. Not rehabbing, not getting your ankle put screwed back together and sewn back together. I gotta wait for you to go through rehab. Like we paying you to be out there. So, we'll see. And like Diva Locks is saying, which is true, when he come back, he's not gonna be able to play a ton of minutes initially, which is fine. I'd rather keep him preserved for the playoffs anyway, because you're gonna need him.
For sure. Yeah, you
So,
fully healthy.
David Smith salutes that Mitch is soft as glass, can't stay healthy for 5 minutes. Yeah, it's just unfortunate because he's a good player when he's out there. Yeah, I think sometimes as fans we do that with a lot of sports. We get emotionally tied to players and coaches, and sometimes we have to realize that it's like I just said, it's a business. It's just like with a job. They could like you, but maybe they're like, it's not really working out because you be injured a lot. So you be missing time from work. And we paying you. So Cade Cunningham, yeah, he's another one. It's like every team that we play, there's that one player that's the issue for us. So um yeah. Shout out to the chat. Hit the like button, guys, if you haven't already. Looking for the Knicks to bounce back and get some wins back under their belt. This month is going to be an interesting month with the games that the Knicks have. You got Philly, Minnesota, Sacramento, Denver, Memphis,
ATL
Lakers,
again.
yeah, Houston, Boston coming up after that. Like the games, it's only going to get tougher. And I think that this month and next month is really going to be interesting to see what this Knicks team does and how do they come out of this winter arc and prepare for the playoffs. So we'll see. Um, but yeah, shout out to Nostalgic Nick, Sterling Smith, Wonder Woman, Dunross Gallman, Just Nicks, Brooklyn Butch, PB and J, Wonder Woman, if I haven't said that already, Hit 'em Up NYNJ, A Negro One, Parish Duggar, salute to you as well. Salute to Rondu1973. The Knicks don't have uh, a mascot, so I guess that could be the mascot. Salute to who else? Kevin Bergen, salute to you. Nick Yak, AP, David Smith, and salute to Wash ENT for joining us as well. Everybody have a great week. We'll see you. I should be on. I know I said this last week, but we didn't go on. But I should be on the Queen's Court tomorrow. We most likely will do an early show, being at the Knicks play tomorrow at 7:30. So we'll most likely go on at 6. Look out for that. And then we'll be back on Thursday. And I may come back before then just to do some game recaps. Yeah, Knicks play. Yeah, because they play Monday, then again Wednesday. So yeah. And then talk about some pre games and then do some post games as well. And yeah, anything else for you before we get out of here?
I'm going for no. That's my pick.
Yeah, 4-0 the optimism, and I'm going on 3-1. So we're not pushing a panic button. It's still early in the season. We're not harping so much just on the regular season, but we just want to see growth and the Knicks get better. And we'll see. We haven't, I know we said it already, but Happy New Year to everybody. And, looking for the Knicks to have a better year this year. So,
Thank you for tuning.
yeah, thank you for tuning in, and shout out to those of you who are watching live but are not active in the chat right now. Shout out to you. Shout out to the replay gang who watch our videos and check us out. And let us know in the comments, what do you think is going on with the Knicks? Is it the lack of depth? Is it Tibbs? Is it tired legs? Are we missing some pieces? And if we are, tell us who. Leave us a comment. We do respond to all the comments. Hit the like button before you get out of here. And we will see you all Thursday. And I'll see you guys tomorrow at the Queen's Court. So shout out to Steph, Jeff, and Tony Crow. And to you all. Peace, everybody.